The 1999 Royal Rumble. What side do you go on? On one hand, this is the most entertaining time to be a wrestling fan in early 1999 for the WWF, especially. You have Stone Cold at the height of his popularity. You have the up and rising coming star in The Rock, who was the biggest heel in the company. You have Vince McMahon, who was the biggest heel in the company. You had Mick Foley, Mankind. This is the year of all of his hardcore antics. The Hell in a Cell from '98. You got Mankind all the way up here in popularity. You're about to sign the Big Show and Chris Jericho in this coming year. You got the Undertaker at his peak, Kane at his peak, DX, Sable. Her popularity was huge. They got the corporate team coming in to attack Austin. They got the Ministry coming in. There's a lot of great stars. So on one hand, you have all this talent, you have all this hype and popularity, but on the other hand, the booking, not so great. This Royal Rumble is take it or leave it. There's no real black and white here. You either hated it or loved it because of the time it happened and took place at. I remember watching this as a kid and enjoying it, but as I go back and rewatch it, it doesn't hold up quality wise. If you're into the Steve Austin Vince McMahon storyline like we all were, it's watchable, but it's compared to other Rumbles, it just doesn't hold up, and we'll find out why. First, let's look at some notes for the Royal Rumble. The Rock cut a very good promo with Doc Hendricks at this event. That was when I quoted that as the quote for the review when I wrote the review 10 years ago. I wrote out the whole quote. He starts off with The Rock saying, "First and foremost, Doc, know your role and shut your mouth." And then he goes on and he says, "I tell you what, Mankind, there's something about this whole situation that really befuddles The Rock. Because you see, The Rock isn't just some Rudy Poo candy ass on the corner of Know Your Role Boulevard and Jaboni Drive. That you're just gonna have your way with The Rock? Well, because tonight in front of the thousands of The Rock's fans and the millions and millions of The Rock's fans, blah, 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 blah. I can't do it. Only The Rock can do that." But he cut a great promo, and that's what I quoted as that for my review. I used to always have a quote at the top. Anyways, I wrote out the entire script of what The Rock said because he did it in such an electrifying way. You wonder why this guy was going to get out pop Steve Austin in 1999. He did at some events. So the Royal Rumble '99 took place on Sunday, January the 24th at the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California in front of 14,800 fans. The event was taglined "No Chance in Hell" and it had Mr. McMahon's future entrance theme as its show's motto. That this was the show slogan, I should say. This was built for the show, that "No Chance in Hell." It was really built for this show. It wasn't meant to be Mr. McMahon's theme, but it stuck with him. So I think that's an interesting note. As usual, the main event saw it being Royal Rumble, which saw the winner receive a championship match. But we all know what happened after the end of this Rumble. Some shenanigans happened going to St. Valentine's Massacre, and the winner of the Rumble didn't actually go to WrestleMania. This was the 12th annual Royal Rumble event. It marked Owen Hart's last appearance ever at the Royal Rumble. This was the first time. This is the first and only time a McMahon family member entered the Rumble match. I don't know if that's true still. I'm not too certain if Vince or Shane hasn't come into the Rumble after this. But Vince at the time was the only McMahon member to. That might be true. I can't remember Shane McMahon being in any Royal Rumble, but don't quote me on that. He's probably been in one, but maybe that's still true. This is an interesting note. Referee Teddy Long, Theodore Long, screwed up during the European title match between X-Pac and Gangrel. He counted 3 in the mid-match. You can clearly hear the spot because the fans chant, "You fucked up." It can be seen, and Teddy Long shakes his head after it happens. It was midway through the X-Pac Gangrel match. There was a roll-up, and like I said, Long counted to 3, but it wasn't time for the match to end. There was a $100,000 bounty in kayfabe going against whoever eliminated Austin. So again, the match is centered around him. China was the first female to appear in the Rumble by entering number 30 on this one. On Sunday Night Heat, there were 3 matches that took place before the event. Christian defeated Jeff Hardy in a singles match that took 11 minutes. Hardcore Holly and Scorpio, also known as the Job Squad, defeated Too Much, who would later be Too Cool, at 3:52. And Mankind defeated Mabel in a singles match at 5:04. Yeah, Heat was a big deal back then. The Heat saw main eventers in 1998, 1999. Main eventers would sometimes go on Heat, especially if it's a Royal Rumble lead-in. Michael Cole and the King call the action together for the first time as a tandem. But JR was in on Michael Cole's headset, as you see in the film Beyond the Mat. Jim Ross is actually telling Michael Cole what to say in a lot of parts. But because of Jim Ross's Bell's palsy at the time, he had to be in the back because it was a very bad case for Jim Ross at the time. Also, he was dealing with the death of his mother, so they had him just in the backstage role. He would come back later, as we all know, for the main event of WrestleMania, and then all the Raws after that. But Michael Cole was in his prime slot here, doing the commentary with the King. Let's get to the show. The opening match was the Road Dogg and the Big Boss Man. Not the best way to start a show, but Road Dogg's popularity was insane. His "Oh, you didn't know," the crowd just all chanted along, "Your ass better call somebody." And Road Dogg knows how to get the crowd worked up. He did his mannerisms. But this match went a little bit long. Boss Man won with a Boss Man slam at 11:52. It was a decent match in areas, but I gave it 1 star. Next up, we had Shamrock defending the Intercontinental title against Badass Billy Gunn. A lot better than the opening match, but that wasn't saying much. Shamrock's facial expressions were hilarious during this match. Badass Billy Gunn did a lot of mannerisms too. So 2 matches back-to-back with the Outlaws here. In the end, Shamrock forced Billy Gunn to submit with an ankle lock at 14:24 to retaining the gold. It was better than I remembered, but still not very good overall. It had its moments, and it's put it nearly at 2 stars. If perhaps Gunn's selling was a bit better, because Shamrock worked on Gunn's legs, and Billy Gunn didn't really end up selling those. Next, we have, sorry if my nose, I'm a little congested right now. Next up, we have X-Pac versus Gangrel for the European title. X-Pac, as the European champion here, he defended the title against Gangrel. This was the match I mentioned earlier about Teddy Long screwing up the count-in. European title on the line. Decent match here, better than the first 2. I rated it 2 stars. X-Pac won in the end at 5:53, so there was quality over quantity. And the spot where Teddy Long screws up, I'll tell you right here. Gangrel countered and caught X-Pac up high on the top rope with a high-risk move. In my reviews, I used to write play-by-play, so it's really helpful. You can find my reviews on WrestlingDVDNetwork.com, or if you Google the pay-per-view name, my name is Brett Mix. It usually comes up on one of the first 2 or 3 pages on Google. So anyways, and back to the play-by-play notes, because I'll tell you exactly where Teddy Long screwed up. Gangrel countered and caught X-Pac up high on the top rope to block a high-risk move, but X-Pac pushed him off and hit a crossbody. Gangrel countered the crossbody and pinned X-Pac with a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. But wait a minute. Teddy Long screwed up. You can see on his reaction and Pac on Gangrel's face being confused. The fans chanted that Long screwed up. That's a nice way of putting it. But Long shook his head and shrugged it off. And Lawler made a possible reason on commentary as for why Teddy Long did that. Gangrel sent X-Pac back into the corner, and then the match continued. So that's where he did that. So anyways, that match is 2 stars. That's a higher rating than the first 2 matches. But so far we got about 1.75 stars, 1.5 stars. No, we got 1 star solid, the first match. 1.75 stars for the second match. And now we have 2 stars for the third match. Here's the 4th match. Sable defending the women's title against Luna in a strap match. I'm glad they went with something rather than just singles, because at least there's something to watch other than Sable. Because the touching of the turnbuckles with the strap, at least there was a gimmick here. At least there was some story. I mean, and Beyond the Mat, you see Vince Russo telling Sable, sell the back, like to the point where we don't think you're gonna compete. That's what Vince Russo says to Sable to sell the back injury. So, anyways, she comes to the ring limping, selling the back, and she ends up winning the strap match. Good stuff, I guess. At 4:43, it should be noticed that Tori came in during this match. She was known as the Fan, who was obsessed with Sable. Half a star, I put. That's being generous. Mankind and The Rock next up for the WWF title. This is going to be one of the most notorious I Quit matches ever, and one of the most notorious Royal Rumble matches ever. This really is remembered on two counts: the brutality Mick Foley took, and the way The Rock went at him. It was barbaric. The Rock was doing everything to be a piece of shit heel, like he even says in Beyond the Mat. This whole show was looked at from beyond the mat backstage very closely, and The Rock took it too far. And I think he'd be the first one to admit that. Foley was a little hot at the though after this, as we saw in Beyond the Mat. He says he'd strangle him if he saw him at the time. This is due to all the chair shots The Rock threw at Mick Foley's head. He had a big gash right on his top of his forehead here. It was bad. You could see it again beyond the mat, and it was pretty terrible. The big story here is, how would Mick Foley quit? His pain tolerance is higher than anyone, so Cole kept saying that there's no way that the Mankind character could die. And as we've ended up finding out in future weeks, it wasn't Mankind's voice that said he quit. It was The Rock. It was the corporation replaying the Mankind's "I quit, I quit, I quit" from a promo in earlier weeks. But at the time, no. And Mankind did say "I quit," or so we thought, after The Rock hit him with a chair about 500 times and handcuffing him. They went to the stage area. Foley had the big bump into the PA system, and from the barricaded alleyway, and he fell some 15 feet. But in the end, at 21:46, The Rock had Foley's line saying, "I quit, I quit." Mick Foley's kids were in the front row for this. It was a real hostile scene. Mick Foley's daughter, what's her name? What is her name? Noelle Foley was seen crying, bawling her eyes out. Dewey wasn't so bad. But yeah, the kids were traumatized a little bit, seeing their father nearly killed by the people's champion, or the corporate at this time. I gave it 4 stars. Uh, that might be a bit high, but I gave it 4 stars. I'll keep that. Main event, the 1999 Royal Rumble match. So I don't list all the members that come out, but I will, just for the sake of making my point. It's great if you have a Royal Rumble built around Austin, but this was not one of the ways to do it. Golga draws Edge. This is a very new Edge, so Edge isn't really that popular. Gilbert, Steve Blackman, Dan Severn, Tiger Lee Sang, the Blue Meanie, Mabel, Road Dogg, who we already saw, Gangrel, who we already saw, Kurgan, Al Snow were the first 15 entrants after Austin and McMahon. That's not very good, especially when you had Austin and McMahon in the back, and that being more of the center of attention than what was going on in the ring. And there was people standing in the ring for minutes at a time, not doing anything. Then after that, Goldust, The Godfather, and Kane. Then Ken Shamrock, Billy Gunn. We saw many of these men before already in the night. Test, The Big Boss Man, Triple H, Val Venus, Mark Henry, D'Lo Brown, Owen Hart, China. So when people say why it was one of the worst Rumbles, that's why. And the Austin McMahon storyline carried it, and it had a good ending. It was unpredictable. It took place during a really hot time, but the match was kind of unforgivable. I mean, the $100,000 bounty kept it interesting, but overall, I give this match a star. Just a star. And for being a Royal Rumble match, that's pretty bad. I consider this the worst in-ring Rumble ever. Even worse than 1995. You can go back in the 95 review and see why I say that it's not as bad as this one. But the final rating for the event, I give a 5 out of 10. The show, just like the previous year, was lacking something. Both Rumble matches were built around Austin, but the rest of the Rumble matches lacked a lot of substance or the usual fun card will deliver. I tend to judge the Rumble event based majority on the Rumble itself, so that's why it takes up half the show in my rating. I rated it 5 out of 10. But it did have the classic I Quit match between The Rock and Foley, so you definitely want to watch the match. You want to watch this Rumble. Are you going to get the best quality? No. You're going to get a Rumble around 5 out of 10, and that's what I rated. So we'll see you at the 2000 Rumble. This is the 1999 Royal Rumble by Brett Mix. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks. Hit like and subscribe if you want to help out the channel. Thank you.